This is the reality. It doesn't matter if you're tired, scared, or unmotivated. The world isn't going to slow down to wait for you to get back up. Life doesn't pause so you can catch your breath. And do you know what this means? The choice always has been and always will be yours. Think about it. While you're there complaining about how hard it is, time is passing. And do you know what time does? It takes away opportunities, the moments you could have used to change your life. No one will look at you and say, "I understand, let me solve this for you," because everyone is dealing with their own battles. The world is indifferent. It doesn't matter if you fail or succeed. It doesn't matter if you try or give up, the world keeps turning. And while that might seem cruel, it's actually freeing. Because it means you don't need anyone's permission to act. You don't need anyone to care for you to do what needs to be done. That exhaustion you feel, that sense of being alone in the fight, accept it. Because no one will carry that weight for you. And that's precisely why you need to get up. Because if you don't, no one will. And look, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying you don't have the right to feel. But what I am saying is that feeling doesn't solve anything. Complaining doesn't solve anything. Waiting doesn't solve anything. Only action solves problems. And the sooner you understand this, the sooner you'll start changing your life. You think someone's waiting to applaud you. They're not. In the beginning, no one cares. But do you know what happens when you succeed? When you silence the excuses and make things happen, suddenly, everyone starts to notice. Everyone wants to know how you did it. Everyone wants to be by your side. But that only happens after you prove you don't need them. So, tell me, what are you going to do with this truth? Are you going to use it as an excuse to give up? Or will you use it as fuel to take action? Because in the end, no one cares about excuses. No one cares why you stopped. The only thing that matters is what you do. Get up, life won't wait for you, time won't stop. The question isn't whether you have the strength to keep going. The question is, are you willing to find out what happens when you don't give up? The world is indifferent. It doesn't care how much you're suffering, how many times you've fallen, or about the tears you've shed in the silence of the night. It's not paying attention to you, and as cruel as that seems, it's the truth. It's the truth you need to accept to free yourself. The world is like the sea. It doesn't ask if you know how to swim. It won't give you a life jacket. Either you learn to float, paddle, and fight the waves, or you drown. And do you know what's worse? No one's going to dive in to save you. Because everyone is trying to keep their own head above water. And do you know what? That's when you discover what really matters. Because when the world isn't watching, when no one's holding your hand, you realize the only person who can change your life is you. It doesn't matter how strong the current is. It doesn't matter how high the waves are. If you don't start swimming now, no one will do it for you. Think of a forest. When a tree falls, the world doesn't stop. The birds look for another branch. The sun continues to shine through the leaves. Nature moves on, indifferent to what's left behind. Life is the same. It won't stop for you to recover, fix your mistakes, or find courage. It's up to you to keep up with the pace. The responsibility is entirely yours. It doesn't matter where you were born, who hurt you, or what you've lost. That might not be your fault, but how you react to it, that's 100% on you. And let me tell you, taking responsibility isn't a burden, it's power. When you understand that everything depends on you, you realize that no one can stop you but yourself. It's no use blaming the past, other people, or the circumstances. Those things won't change. But do you know what can change? Your choices, your attitude. It's how you face challenges that determines whether you'll be swallowed by the world or learn to face it. The world isn't fair. It's not playing in your favor. But let me remind you of one thing. It's not playing against you either. It's neutral. It simply is. What you do in this game is what counts. If you're waiting for the world to give you something, you'll end up frustrated. But if you decide to go after it, to take control, there's nothing that can stop you. So tell me, are you going to keep waiting for something or someone to change your life? Or will you understand that the power to change is already within you? The world isn't paying attention to your efforts right now, but when you win, it will. That only happens if you decide to paddle, if you decide to fight. Because, in the end, the world doesn't care. But you can make it notice. It hurts, I know. It hurts to be ignored, to feel unseen, to feel like no one cares about what you're going through. It's a silent loneliness, a void that seems to scream inside you. But let me tell you something. The pain you feel now, that sense of being alone, might be the greatest gift life has ever given you. Because it's through it that you'll find your strength. Look, no one's going to save you. No one's going to show up to solve your problems, take you by the hand, and say, "Don't worry, I'll handle this for you." And do you know why? Because no one can live your life for you. No one feels what you feel. No one knows your struggles like you do. And that's precisely why the solution can only come from within you. Pain isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It's what teaches you what you're capable of enduring. It's what reminds you that you're stronger than you think. Because every time you face this pain head-on, every time you choose not to give up, you become more resilient. You discover that, even when everything seems lost, you can still fight. Think of a sword. Before it shines, before it's sharp, it goes through fire, through hammering, through the force that molds raw steel. That's what pain does to you. It's not here to destroy you, it's here to transform you. To make you strong, to make you unbreakable. So yes, it hurts. It hurts to fall. It hurts not to be recognized. It hurts to feel like no one sees how hard you're working. But do you know what hurts more? Spending your entire life waiting for something or someone to change your situation. Waiting for life to be fair, because that waiting only brings more frustration, more regret, more emptiness. Life is a fight. And the truth is, you're already in the ring. The only choice you have is whether you'll keep fighting or throw in the towel. And let me remind you, every punch you take, every fall, every temporary defeat is shaping you. It's preparing you to win. Accepting the fight isn't easy. It's deciding that you won't run away anymore. That you won't blame the world, others, or the circumstances. It's choosing to be the person who takes the reins, who stands up, who acts. Because when you decide to fight, when you choose to turn pain into strength, no one can stop you. And do you know what happens when you accept the fight? You discover who you really are. You realize that, even when it seems impossible, you can keep going. That the strength you're looking for on the outside is already inside you. You realize that no matter the size of the challenge, you are bigger. So tell me, are you going to keep waiting? Or will you accept the fight because the pain will be there anyway? But you can choose what to do with it. You can let it destroy you, or you can use it as fuel to become stronger. The choice is yours. Get up, face it. Because victory isn't for those who wait. It's for those who fight. For those who turn pain into strength, difficulty into motivation. The fight is yours, and do you know what's most important? You already have everything you need to win. You know that tree in the middle of the desert? It's there, alone, with no one to provide shade, no support, facing the heat, the wind, and the sandstorms. It seems fragile, but it's not, because while the roots of other trees spread out on the surface, its roots grow deep. It needs to find strength deep within, because it knows it can't count on anyone else. And that's what makes it resilient, uncheckable. Loneliness might feel heavy, but it's in it that you discover your true strength. It's not in the noise of applause that you grow, it's in the silence. It's when there's no one watching, no one cheering you on, that you find out who you really are. When you're alone, you realize that excuses are useless. There's no audience to impress, no one to comfort you. It's just you and the truth. And that's where the magic happens. Because it's in that moment that you start building something no one can take from you, independence. You don't need validation. You don't need someone to tell you you're capable. You just need to look inside and understand that the strength you're searching for is already there. Like that tree in the desert, your roots grow stronger when you learn to rely on yourself. Do you know what happens when you face isolation head-on? You discover that you're not as fragile as you thought. That you don't need anyone to tell you what to do, to hold your hand. You realize that loneliness is a teacher, not an enemy. And when you come out of that moment, when people finally see you, they don't understand how you got so strong. They don't understand how you grew while no one was watching, but you know. You know it was in the absence of support, in the silence, that you built the strongest foundation of your life. So if you're alone now, if you feel like no one sees how hard you're fighting, embrace it. Because it's in this isolation that you will transform. It's in it that you will learn to stand on your own without needing help. And when you're standing tall, no one will be able to knock you down. You don't need applause. You need silence to discover who you are. And when you find out, you won't need anyone to tell you that you're strong. You'll already know. And that strength, my friend, no one can take away from you. Who is the person you want to be? What does your best version look like? Strong, confident, disciplined, living the life you've always dreamed of. Let me tell you something. That person already exists. It's not a distant dream. It's not an impossible idea. That person is inside you, waiting for you to start building the path to reach them. But here's the truth. That version of you won't appear out of nowhere. It won't show up because you're waiting, because you're wishing, or because you think you deserve it. You need to create that person, brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. Do you know how to start? Close your eyes for a moment. Visualize who you want to be. Not just how you look, but how you feel. Imagine waking up every day with purpose, with energy, with pride in the person you see in the mirror. Imagine what your life would be like if you stopped making excuses and started taking action. Now let me remind you, that person you visualize, that stronger, braver version, isn't as far away as it seems. They're waiting for you to start making decisions that align your life with your values and your dreams. Every choice you make, big or small, brings you closer to or further away from them. Start small, but start now. Want to be more disciplined? Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Want to be healthier? Choose water instead of soda today. Want to be more productive? Turn off distractions and focus on what matters. Every action, no matter how small, is a step toward your best version. Think of a sculpture. The perfect form is already within the block of marble. The artist's job is to remove the excess, to chip away at what doesn't belong to that masterpiece. You are the artist of your life. And every decision, every effort, is a strike of the chisel that removes what's holding you back from becoming the person you were born to be. But let me warn you, building your best self will hurt. Not because it's impossible, but because it requires leaving behind everything that holds you back. It requires facing your fears, confronting your flaws, and stopping hiding behind excuses. There will be moments when you'll doubt yourself. You'll look ahead and think it's too far. But let me tell you, every step you take is a victory. Every sacrifice is an investment in the future you deserve. And do you know what happens when you choose this journey? You start to see the transformation. Suddenly, the person you only imagined starts to appear in reality. The strength you thought you didn't have emerges. The confidence that seemed impossible grows. And when you look in the mirror, you realize you're no longer the person you were yesterday. You're better, stronger, more determined. So tell me, are you ready to start building your best version? Because they're not waiting for anyone else, only you. Start now. Visualize who you want to be. Then build, one step at a time, one day at a time. Because the best version of you isn't a destination. It's a process. And you already have everything you need to begin. In the beginning, no one is watching. No one is applauding. When you're down, sweating, fighting, trying, no one cares. Many will laugh. They'll underestimate you. They'll say, "He won't make it." But do you know what happens to those who don't give up? The game changes. That silence, that disdain, turns into respect. Those who laughed begin to wonder, how did he do it? How did he get there? And suddenly, what seemed impossible becomes impossible to ignore. Life respects those who persist. The world stops to watch those who persevere. But only after you prove you don't need an audience. It's when you choose to keep going, even when no one believes. It's when you push forward, even when it's hard, that you begin to stand out. Think of a rock in a rushing stream. At first, it's just another stone, but over time, each blow of the water polishes it, shapes it, transforms it. And one day, it's no longer just a rock. It becomes an unshakable presence, steady in the middle of the river. That's what persistence does to you. And let me tell you, victory doesn't belong to the fastest or the strongest. It belongs to those who don't stop, to those who get up every time they fall, to those who understand that every stumble is just another step in the right direction. Those who give up are not remembered. But those who keep going, even when everything seems to be against them, those people change the game. They are the ones the world admires. So, no matter how hard it is right now, no matter if it feels like no one is watching, you're not doing this for them. You're doing it for you, and when you win and you will win, the whole world will want to know your story. They'll want to understand how you did the impossible, how you turned every challenge into fuel to keep going. But until then, you need to believe in yourself, even when no one else does. So, go on, make it happen. Because respect is not given, it's earned. It comes to those who fight in silence, who work without recognition, who refuse to quit when everything seems lost. The world respects those who don't give up. Those who face pain, exhaustion, loneliness, and still choose to keep going. Those who look at the impossible and think, I'm going to make it. Today, you can choose to stop. You can choose to make excuses, but if you do that, you'll stay exactly where you are. Or you can choose to keep going, one step at a time, knowing that life was never meant for those who stop, it's for those who persist. Get up. Look forward, remember why you started. Because, when the day comes, when you cross that finish line, the world will stop, not to ask how easy it was, but to bow before someone who never gave up. Go. Because victory belongs only to those who fight to the end.